Hey everyone, welcome back to Trailblazers, the series that showcases the bold HR, talent and L&D leaders who are shaping the future of work with action, not just ideas. Brought to you in partnership by our friends at Valence, this is where AI meets real-world results from organizational transformation to workforce empowerment. In each episode, we sit down with the pioneers turning AI theory into practice. And today's Trailblazer is a powerful example of just that. I'm joined by Wright, who's the Director of Global Learning and Leadership Development at Delta Airlines. He's leading the company's skills-based transformation, including the launch of their talent hub that's driving business value with a unified talent ecosystem. With more than 2 decades in HR and talent, Brian is shaping how skills, leadership, and culture come together to meet the workforce needs in the age of AI. In our conversation, Brian shares how Delta is reimagining leadership and scaling growth through AI and talent innovation. Enjoy the episode. Hey Nadia, what's a good question that I can ask Brian to highlight how AI became part of Delta's everyday HR processes, not just a standalone tool?
Here's a question that will spotlight how AI became a seamless part of Delta's HR processes. What's one story where AI became a quiet game changer for HR at Delta? Something that's now essential, but went unnoticed at first. This kind of question pulls out a concrete example, inviting Brian to move beyond the headline to the everyday, helping your audience see AI's impact as something lived, not abstract.
Thanks so much, Nadia. I'll keep that in mind. Now let's jump into the show. Brian, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Where are you joining us from in the world?
I am in the great city of Atlanta, Georgia.
Nice.
Here at Delta Airlines headquarters. Amazing,
man. I mean, is it sunny where you are, or is it miserable like UK?
Today, I actually mentioned this to someone today. Around this time, Atlanta's still pretty hot, but today was a good fall, autumn feeling day.
Okay.
And so it's a little crisp weather coming in this morning. I see the sun coming out, but in terms of temperature, it feels like a real fall day. Usually in Atlanta, we may feel that for probably 2 days.
Yeah.
The whole season before
really?
It starts cold again. So it's been a good day so far.
Nice, man. Well, so good to connect with you. Before we jump in, tell everyone a little bit about yourself personally, and then kind of your journey into the role that you're in now.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm the husband of a beautiful wife who I've known since I was 3 years old.
Wow.
2 kids, a daughter who's a competitive cheer, and a son who believes he's the second coming of Jimi Hendrix.
How old is he?
He's 23.
Oh, so, man, love it.
Pretty eclectic family. My career, I sort of found learning and development by accident. And so I lead learning and development, leadership development for Delta Airlines. I started my career wanting to be a news anchor. So I wanted to report the news, specifically a White House
correspondent. I can see it, I can. We've only known each other. For people listening, we've only known each other for like 15 minutes, but I can see it. I feel like you've done pretty good.
It's crazy. Had I stuck to it, especially in this environment as a White House correspondent, it would have been a great career. But I found my calling.
You did. Yeah.
I found my calling. Ended up going into business, starting HR. Ran the gamut there from recruitment, HR business, partner strategy, international HR. And then when I joined Delta, I had the opportunity to be one of the first members of a new function that we were standing up, global talent management. And so about 5 years ago, was asked to come and help elevate the effectiveness of our learning and development function. And so for the last 5 years, I've had the tremendous experience of being able to help shape Delta's talent strategy, help to support our business by making sure our people not only have the skills to do their job, but know how to demonstrate those successfully and to exceed a lot of our goals. And so it's been a really fun ride. And, with the AI boom, it's getting even more interesting. And some of the innovative thinking that, not just Delta, but some of my peers across the landscape are doing. So it's been really fun to learn from each other. And if you're in L&D, it's a great time to be part of L&D.
It's an exciting time, right? There's no shortage of. I mean, it's interesting because we're also going to talk about your company's upskilling, your transformation, etc. But internally in L&D, you're going through your own upskilling transformation at the same time.
Yeah, we like to say we are building the plane while we're flying it.
Yeah, you just don't tell passengers that.
Right, exactly.
Hey everyone. No.
Just an analogy. Just
Yeah,
an analogy.
I'm only joking. I'm joking. Talk us through the journey. You know, the why, and then kind of where you are, and then we can jump into some of the cool things that I know that you guys are doing.
Yeah, so in terms of the journey, it really has started on a focus that hasn't changed. It's been clear for us since day one. Our focus is ensure that we elevate the effectiveness of our leaders, we elevate the effectiveness of our people, and we do that by strengthening our culture, ensuring our people know how to demonstrate our values. If you know anything about Delta, we have a really strong culture. Our values really guide us, and so we firmly believe that if we take care of our people will take care of our passengers and our customers. If we take care of our customers, they'll reward us with their loyalty, and that will allow us to take care of our shareholders. And so that has been the virtuous circle that Delta's lived by for its 100 years, and it's made us the successful company that we are today. What we've done is sort of taken that virtuous circle and applied it to our ability to support our people. And so again, making sure they know how to elevate our culture, drive high performance, and model our brand beliefs. Where the challenges come in is how do you scale that in a massive company like Delta in 2025, where time is of a premium. We have the unfortunate, luxury, if you want to call it that, of having to adjust our operation around things that we can't control all the time, like the weather, like decisions that are outside of our control. And so our ability to respond fast to that and to adjust the progress of how we develop our people has been paramount for us. And so, expanding our reach and really reimagining how we train and develop our people through leadership coaching and through technology has really been a focus of ours. About 5 or 6 years ago, we started looking at our entire infrastructure, and we recognized that we didn't have a really good infrastructure to provide role clarity to our people, so they were just unable to know the jobs, but really be clear on the skills and proficiency levels required to meet the needs of those jobs. And so what that translated into is a sort of massive enterprise-wide skills transformation, where we looked at every job in the company, the sub-job families in the company. We map skills to every job. We link learning to all those skills. We've mapped proficiency levels to those skills and that learning. And we've been really proud to say that this week, actually, we launched Talent Hub, which is our new platform, which we're calling a one-stop shop for our employees, where we provide them with their passport to grow, giving them an opportunity to
I
own their
love
career.
that, by the way. The passports are grow. Don't
There
just
you
don't just
go.
skip over that like that wasn't amazing. No.
Yeah, and so our goal is to, provide the same level of experience to our people that we do to our customers, right? Our customers have agency to map their travel experience, and we want to provide that same experience to our people, starting from a place of foundation, right? If you know what's required of you, and you have the ability to close those development gaps on your own with the support of your leaders, that allows us to scale performance. It allows us to scale results. Where AI has really come in is it has flipped it on its head. And so we've tested a lot of really good pilots in being able to link those learning elements to skills. And so that was sort of our first introduction into AI usage. And with the success of the Talent Hub launch, we plan to accelerate that from there. We also launched AI coaching to the organization this year with the partnership and help of Balance and their tool Nadia. And so I'll talk about that a little bit more throughout the discussion. But our journey has been long. It has not been without its bumps, but we've been really proud of the progress that we've made, and we have a really good roadmap for the future.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? It is a roadmap and a journey. There's no end date.
Correct.
to this
Exactly.
this work, right? And so, but congratulations on the big milestone of launching with the team as well. And linking back to something you mentioned a little bit earlier, is everything you're doing is, upskilling and reskilling and supporting your employees at the speed of business. Right? Gone are the days where we can release something 2 or 3 months down the line. We're waiting for a learning pathway or a course to be generated. We need to be upskilling our employees at the speed of business. And
Yeah.
right now, that's moving pretty fast.
Fast. Very
And AI has just accelerated that right to a whole nother level. Where did your AI journey start? Like, what was the specific area that you and the team first focused on? Because there's so many use cases, right? You can get
fast.
lost in the number
Yeah.
of things you can approach.
Yeah. So beyond some of the business enablement pieces, I'll just focus more on the sort of learning and development, sort of people
Yeah.
development aspect of things. It first started with us realizing that it would take us probably years to manually map all of our jobs and skills to learning. And so the first swag at this was leveraging AI to do that work for us. And what we found through that is there's still a ton of work we've got to do on the back end, right? So what we learned through that is there's metadata that we've got to clean up. There's standards that we might have to implement across the organization in how we tag things, how we label things, how we describe things. As we started to leverage AI to help map those things, what we recognize is, we've leveraged artificial intelligence, but our intelligence was bad, right? We were it was feeding us bad information back because
Garbage in, garbage out, right?
yeah, garbage in, garbage out. And so that was sort of the first learning experience that we had. We took a few months of a pause to really get that cleaned up. But it allowed us to accelerate a lot of that mapping and matching and tagging going into our Talent Hub launch. So I would say that was sort of the first element there. And then we started to bring in elements of development. So one of the things that we recognize is we need to shift our mindset. And so we started on really reshaping the organization's view of AI and recognizing that everyone's using it outside of work. And so we probably need to stop being cute and pretending that they're not leveraging that. And so figuring out a way to bring that into Delta. And so that big shift was really moving from a mindset of AI as a tool to AI as a partner. And so instead of thinking of it as tech to bolt on to what we do, we really leverage Valence's help with the tool of Nadia and design Nadia in a way to really live in the heart of our leadership and performance processes. And so once leaders saw that Nadia, which is our AI coaching tool, understood our values, our rules of the road, and could actually learn with them over time, that adoption took off. And so with the launch of Nadia, we really informed it with all the things that we would expect a leader to coach its people on around Delta: our values, our skills, how we perform, our metrics. And we work with the Valence team to really load Nadia with those things. And I'm proud to sort of share today that Nadia is the #2 most successful tech launch that AI has ever had in Delta. We've got about 5,000, more than 5,000 employees registered using that.
Wow.
Just over 3,000 of them are active. And nearly 50% of our mid-level leaders are using Nadia, and it has a near perfect NPR here at Delta, which never happens on any technology launch that comes from HR. But across Delta, it's had a near perfect NPS. And so what we're doing right now is figuring out a way to further embed Nadia into our operation. And so as leaders are supporting talent planning, we want to make sure that Nadia is loaded to a system with that. As we're launching Talent Hub, we have future plans to integrate Nadia into Talent Hub, into Teams. And we've recently launched Copilot. And so we've got a lot of use cases across a couple of AI tools that will really help support some of our biggest strategic areas.
Congratulations. And I love the fact that you're already thinking about how do we make sure we've all got this great adoption, but how do we make sure this shows up in the flow of work?
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So I could already see, right, how do we make sure this integrates with the tools that we already use and in Talent Hub as well? What's the main use case that you're seeing in the platform? Just out of curiosity, because there's so much you can do, right?
For Nadia or for Talent Hub?
For Nadia, what's the biggest use case? How your leaders are using this?
Yeah, so our biggest use case is just day-to-day coaching. And so we have what we call quality conversations at Delta. And we define those quality conversations as 3 types: trust building conversations, performance conversations, and career conversations. And so the first thing that we leveraged Nadia for was to help scale training and the ability to provide that tool or provide that support for leaders. Coaching has always been something that's been reserved for the top of the house traditionally. Executive coaching is extremely expensive, and most companies, again, reserve that investment for the top of the house. And so this was a way for us to be able to scale that investment to our leaders, particularly our frontline leaders. Our frontline leaders are about 1,600 people that lead almost 80,000 of our employees, or over 80,000 of our employees. And so being able to equip them with that skill set and that support in hand, where they don't have to leave the operation, they can coach in the moment, to your point, putting development in the flow of
Yeah.
work. It put that coaching and that assistance in the hands of our frontline leaders. And so it's almost a virtual assistant that they have now to support them in those day-to-day conversations, support them with performance management as they prepare for discussions with their people. And so that's been probably the biggest use case that we've been focused on. As we've had success with that, again, we have a lot of future plans to really expand that into other areas of our business, particularly wellness.
Yeah. Oh, wellness. Okay. That's an interesting
Mm-hmm.
one
Mm-hmm.
as well, right? Because there's been a lot of data research that people, I saw one last year, like people were more comfortable speaking to an AI agent than maybe their own leader or manager to be able to have a
Yeah.
conversation there. That's a really interesting one.
Yeah, and you and I were talking before this, right? That in today there's so many conversations around well-being, and just a few short years ago, you didn't bring those conversations into the workplace, right? You didn't bring politics into the workplace. Today, not just in Delta, but all leaders are faced with the challenge that that is a part of providing a sense of belonging in the workplace, that people feel comfortable showing up as their authentic selves, and those things that really affect us outside of work. It's really tough to not bring that into work, right? I think in 2025, it is unreasonable to think that you just shut that valve off before you walk into the doors. And so, as many people in my position have been faced with the challenge in working with well-being teams or teams externally, is how do you equip our leaders with the ability to handle those conversations in a safe way, without even having to share your own personal opinion about it, right? And you don't have to get into the depths of your beliefs, but how do you support people as they bring those conversations into the workplace? And we're equipping Nadia as a potential support system to help Delta leaders be able to navigate those tough conversations.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I mentioned to you before we hit record, right? I just had this conversation like on a live panel. And one of the things that we spoke about was the idea of using an AI coach to practice having those conversations, because we've all been there, right? We're worried about saying the wrong thing. We're worried about not, like we feel like we have to have an answer to all of these challenges, and it can be overwhelming. So having a safe environment and a sandbox to play in and practice those conversations, you get the reps in before you end at a conversation, is just huge, and something and it's personalized, right? Because it understands your how you lead, some of your strengths, your weaknesses, so it can mold and adapt, and it knows that by your calendar that you've got that call next week, and hey Chris, here's a little nudge, do you want to practice that conversation, because I know you're going to be chatting with Brian next week, right? And I feel like that's the stuff where it just shows up, right, and helps the leader, and almost comes predictive in some ways.
Correct.
Which is super interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And what we've seen is, the early impact has really been clear, right? Our people feel more confident walking into those conversations because of that tool. The satisfaction, again, as I mentioned, sits nearly perfect. And what the story that we're sort of telling with this internally is, AI isn't replacing human connection, it's enhancing it. And so as we look to launch a number of AI initiatives going into 2026, that's really a sort of foundational element of our communication that we're really going to be grounding those launches in. Is we're not replacing our people. What we want to do is help leverage AI to make them more productive, to make them more effective, to allow us to scale impact faster, and to support our customers in a more effective and innovative way. And again, we found really early success from some of those initiatives, and we just want to look to build on that.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, earlier, like we've been doing this for our customers for so long, right? Like creating that hyper personalized experience. Now we have the technology to do that, to upskill and support our leaders and our employees, and bring learning to them, as opposed to them going to it. and meeting them where they're at within their own context. It's
Yeah.
kind of something only a years back we could only dream.
Right.
Or to do that at scale, right?
Right.
It's something you could only dream of.
Yeah. So one of the other things that we're doing to support just leveraging AI across Delta is we're about to launch an enterprise-wide upskilling strategy. And so we recognize that we want everybody to know something about AI, and knowing that some people need to know a little bit more. And so this month we'll be launching an enterprise-wide upskilling strategy that looks like foundational learning for all. And so we just want to debunk some of the myths, help people recognize the responsible use of AI, and getting them comfortable using the AI tools that they have access to today. So Copilot, how you can leverage Copilot to increase productivity. Obviously, Nadia, we want people really abreast on how to leverage that. And then beyond that, we're working with IT to create blended learning experiences for our technical practitioners and what we call tech adjacent roles, or so business analysts, learning designers, people that might leverage AI a little bit more in their day-to-day work that needs some deeper fluency. So we're going to be focusing there. And in tandem to that, we're going to get the top of the house really skilled. And so this month, we'll be launching some AI upskilling for all of our executives. So we're going to be requiring our executives to go through some upskilling where they get abreast and comfortable with just some foundational elements of AI. Again, we're going to have some fun with some prompting exercises with them to get comfortable with Copilot and Nadia. And then the real work starts with them. So they learn as leaders of the business how we can leverage AI as a core competency of leadership. And what that looks like is we want our leaders to think first as they shape business strategy, how to leverage AI as a business enabler to reduce costs, to reduce administrative burden. And so we want to get them used to how to use the things that they have disposal to today, and then sustain that through how do you drive that day to day through the business as we make our decisions. And so where some people are really focusing on either top of the house or specific roles, we're doing every persona across Delta, ensuring they have some element of AI upskilling that we're focusing on with them over the course of 2026.
I love that, man. You're doing bottom up and top down at the same time.
Correct.
And you'll meet in the middle.
Exactly.
I love that. For people listening that are, early on the journey, what are some of the things that you did pre-launch that really helped set you up for success?
Yeah. The first thing that we did is we established a core steering committee. And that steering committee really looked at governance, clarity across the organization. So as you can imagine, with something like AI, where it's such a heavy focus in a number of organizations, again, not just Delta, everyone's looking for an opportunity to figure out how they can leverage AI to, meet, whether it's an innovative, goal, whether it is to reduce administrative burden. What we found is, if you sort of equate this to a game of dodgeball, as you know, when you start the game of dodgeball, everyone runs to the same ball. That's what we were experiencing, right? Everyone was working on the same things, but we weren't necessarily working together on those things. And so that sort of governance group really helped us work better together, have a clear understanding of what the needs were across each work group across Delta. It also allowed us to provide a level of governance and standardization around how we approved AI use cases into the organization. And so I would say that would be the first thing I would recommend to anyone, is that whatever size organization you work in, making sure that there's a clear roadmap, alignment in what you want to solve, why you want to solve it, how are you going to measure the success of it, and whether you need to do some initial work to ensure that you've got the infrastructure, the data, all the back-end support to be able to really leverage the benefits, all the benefits that AI can produce. And as I mentioned, what we learned, we tried to bolt on an AI solution on top of an infrastructure that really didn't support it. And so we lost some time, right, admittedly. But now we're able to run faster because we've established that infrastructure.
Yeah.
So I would say that's number one. The second thing is get a long list of use cases. We didn't budge. We didn't limit ourselves in all the possibilities of where we wanted to leverage AI. And what we did is we started to prioritize that down based on what the most critical goals were in the business that perhaps we could have, low effort, high impact around. What that did is allowed us to gain buy-in, allowed us to gain trust, it allowed us to see where perhaps there was a baseline of understanding of AI. And that allowed us to be able to settle that, hey, we need to do an enterprise push on upskilling. We don't have enough people in the organization that really understand the benefits, the risks, and all of the business enablement, areas that AI can really be a benefit to us. And so that allowed us to be able to reduce that long list of use cases down to a set of core that we're in the middle of launching right now. And so those are the first things that I would say to do. Again, everybody sort of comes in with a plan until it gets real. And then I think the old adage is you get smacked in the face
Yeah.
with reality. And IT has to be at the table with you, right? And so that was sort of the first thing that we did that I would recommend to everybody is to start, get the core people at the table, get aligned, get a really good plan, get your long use case list, and get really clear on how you're going to measure and start with the things that are low impact, high value.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's like you have to build the foundation, right? People start building the building without the foundation. It's not going to go well for you.
Right.
But I love the clarity, right? Firstly, I mean, the fact that you brought the right team together, and then really drilling down to the specific, to be specific, but also to your point, what are the measurements of success? Because otherwise, if you go in without that, then you don't know whether it's going well or not, right? And at the moment, you may be, and many companies are right now, piloting so many things at the same time because you kind of have to. It's moving so fast. What are the clear, what does ROI look like, and have we clearly defined that beforehand, before going in?
And I'll say, and that's absolutely right. And just to tack on to that, the only other thing I'll add is for the folks listening that may work or lead companies of the size of Delta that perhaps have a large dispersed workforce, or even some of the small or mid-sized companies that really value and double down on the people element of their success. We really focused on that. And again, as I mentioned, started small and start in the flow of work as we talked about before. And what we really layered that around is, making sure that we didn't roll AI out as a shiny toy. We anchored it in moments that mattered most to our people. And so one of the other things we looked at is our employee engagement survey. Where were our people telling us they were struggling the most? Where were our frontline leaders telling us that we could help them be more effective as they lead our operation? And one of the biggest things that they told us is that they spend a lot of time doing administrative things that we knew that we could automate, right? And so things, like summaries or, again, pulling reports. Then we looked at, again, on a leadership lane, how can we make our leaders more effective? Again, knowing that as we support our leaders to support our people, that's where Delta is most successful. And so we looked at things like feedback, coaching, performance. And what we proved is that we could make really good impact there first. And we built a lot of trust across the organization. As I mentioned, the tools that we put out now are among the highest successful NPS rated tools that we've ever put out. And so now as we look to scale other AI use cases, it's easier. We've got that trust. The business trusts that the tools that we put out are going to be reliable. We're showing that we're listening to them, and we're not just launching things that feel good or nice to have. We're launching things that really matters to them. And that's been the differentiator in some of the strategic areas that we've been focusing on.
Love that. One of the things we haven't discussed, which is so important, which companies get wrong, is the actual launch, the communication, right? Connecting it to the why. What does it mean for Chris? This is great. We've got this tool. What does it mean for me? Right. What were some of the things that you did that really made it successful, that you, or when you look back, that really moved the needle, that captured people's, not just their minds, but their hearts and their minds, and really understood this is what it means for me in my career?
Yeah, we involved them in the decision-making process. And so when we launched it, we were able to say that we launched this for our people and was built by our people. And so with tools like Talent Hub that we talked a lot about personalization. And so the reason why we call it your passport to grow is your development journey should be personal to you. Yes, there are things that Delta is going to require you to know, but you may have interest in growing new skills that could support Delta or your own career in other ways. And so it was really important to us that all the tools that we launched felt personal to our people. And so we couldn't do that in a vacuum, right? We couldn't do that in HR. It would have been a failure to us if we launched this and people were calling it an HR tool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Considered a Delta tool. It's a people tool. And so involving our people in feedback, in pilots, in testing, in A/B testing, even how our systems look. So we've included them in color palette, choosing the colors that we use, in the nudges, the frequency and nudges that they got. And so as a heavy user of Nadia, which is one of those tools, one of the things I joke with the Valence team a lot about is, man, Nadia makes sure I don't forget, right? She is reminding me of all the things that we talked about. And what's been beautiful in that is, as a user myself, that was a part of that group really helping to shape that, even though I own the business strategy, the more I used it, the more it built a profile on me. The more I leveraged Talent Hub, right? The more it was clear on what my personal career goals were. The more I talked to Nadia and got advice about how I could handle and navigate through conversations with my own team, it started to learn the individuals on my team. The more I named them by name, Nadia referred back to them by name, and it helped me personalize my coaching and feedback those people in a way where, that sort of report out was, and I'll sort of give you an example. I remember one time I was preparing for a performance conversation with a leader on my team, who really likes to plan. This person has to have, a lot of time to really process. This person, makes the best decisions when they've had time to be more thoughtful. And I'm someone that sometimes, because of the fast-paced nature of Delta business, we've got to make business decisions fast. And as I was preparing for this coaching conversation with Nadia reminded me that this person needed that process time. And so maybe sharing with them some points to consider before we came into the meeting so that they got the process timing that they need, and I got the instant solutioning that was necessary to really drive the business in the environment that we were in.
Yeah.
And so just those things that as we storytell across the business even more, it became more real for people beyond just the words that we put on paper or in internal press releases.
And let's be honest, like as leaders, and it's impossible for us to remember all those things. So right, let's just be honest, right? So the fact that the more you use it, the more it learns about you. But then obviously, as you said, in the platform, you can connect all your team members, and it can learn about them and recall that, right? So the more you use it, the more conversations, the more it learns about how each of your team members or your reports like to be, like, how they like to receive feedback is different. Right. How they would like to be recognized is different. All of those things, right, that we typically in the past had a one-size-fits-all approach to now, but it's supporting you with the nudges, right, along the way. And we could use all the help we can get right now as leaders. It's a tough time.
Right. It's one of the most, I always say it's one of the most rewarding but toughest jobs I've ever had in my life. Yeah. One of my peers calls me crazy, but being a leader is tougher than being a parent, I think, right? Because, these are people that obviously you're not with every, second of the day. You won't be with them your entire lives like you are with your family.
Yeah.
But the decisions that you have to make with them, the rate in which you have to build trust, right, and the frequency in which you have to work together, particularly through tough things, is condensed. It's almost like a game of a big Survivor, Big Brother fan. And so when you're put in that sort of pressure cooker of an environment, some of those relationships are built faster in shorter amounts of time. And so, we have to equip leaders, to the point we raised earlier, with tools quicker, faster. We have to adjust on the fly quicker just to help them be more effective. And every day we're presenting with a new challenge. And so AI just gives us the ability to be able to scale that at a much faster rate and in a more effective rate.
Yeah. And I think a knock-on effect, like you discussed, is like you can now link that back to Talent Hub and create personalized learning, right, to help support the individuals, right? Again, as opposed to having this one-size-fits-all approach, you have the data and the insights to understand these are the areas that Chris, these are the business areas we need to Chris to upskill on. But personally, here are some of the areas that Chris could use our support with. We didn't have that capability to be able to have that before as well. Listen, man, I could talk to you forever, and I know we're going to run out of time. But looking back, is anything you would have done differently? Like along the journey, we don't always get everything right. What were some of the lessons learned along the way for you that really have stayed with you?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, not thinking tech first, think people first, goals second, and then how the tech can enable that. We, again, like most people, got really enticed as we talk with vendors and people that we met with by the shiny toys that we could bring in. But as we tried to bring those in, again, we learned that the infrastructure wouldn't support it. And so again, lesson learned, we lost some time there, but it was a valuable learning lesson that has allowed us to be able to accelerate and be able to get success faster as we launch new products or frame new products. The other lesson I think that we learned along the way is don't underestimate what you don't know. Even as a learning and development leader, as I think through how AI can support the elevation and transformation of learning, whether it's through equipping our instructional designers with better design tools that can shorten the scripting time down, right? Leveraging AI, as it relates to how we talked about with Talent Hub, how you can embed learning deeper in the flow of work and make development more personalized to your people. We started a lot of that work through the lens of what we knew as L&D professionals. And as we started to deploy those to our people, what we learned was we could have done a better job of really leveraging real use cases and examples from our people to make it real. So it was less of sort of a product launch from a learning position and more of this is a tool or this is a learning product that will benefit you in this specific way. We heard you, we deliver, right? And so now moving forward, we're way more conscious of how we message these tools so that we link it to the feedback that we heard from our people, as Delta always does. I think as L&D professionals, we're very conscious on sort of the learning theory of things and how learning and the approach to learning that we have internally can yield business results. But I think framing that to the people lens is something that we could have done a lot earlier that we're doing a lot right now.
Yeah. I mean, you have to go on the journey,
Got to go on the
right?
journey.
It's just that's how you learn, right? We learn by doing, and you figure it out along the way. And I think that with the pace that we're moving, like we said earlier, you have to do that. There is no time for us to have here's our 3 to 5 year plan strategy and everything's going to fit perfectly in the nice in their holes. It doesn't work that way, right? You kind of have to fail forward, and it's not even failure, it's just you're learning. That's how learning happens. I didn't learn how to play ice hockey by watching a video. I fell over on the ice and I got up and I carried on and I kept doing it, right? Over and over again. As you look forward,
Chris, the only other thing, I'm sorry,
yeah, go for it.
I'll add to that too is, for the HR professionals listening on the call, it is critical that you take the steering wheel and get in the driver's seat of accelerating AI strategy across your organizations. Again, one of the things we learned along the way that was really critical to our success is framing this not, any product that we launched that leverage AI in any way, that it wasn't an IT or technology or tool launch. This was to enable our people to do ... right? Insert ... And so HR has the luxury of being closer to the pulse of our people. We also are required to know our business to be effective. And so it's a different place that HR can sit in this, right? AI has traditionally and obviously been sort of thought of as these IT initiatives that you launch across the organization, but reframing that in partnership with IT as people, business solutions is really where HR can take the front wheel. And what we can really do is influence the sort of risk and responsible use of AI along with legal to ensure that, we're sort of representing that, yes, these solutions can help you be productive. They can help us drive our business, but they're not replacing our people, right? The human connection of how we leverage this to really drive those goals is really where HR can really take a push. One of the things that we're doing on our side is looking at, a couple of experiences. We think of the employee journey map across Delta. What does it mean to make it a great career at Delta? What does it mean to make it a great day at Delta in terms of our ability to meet our operational goals? And what we're looking at is how can we leverage AI to really refine that? One of the biggest perks that we have here at Delta is our ability to travel. And so past travel is a really cool area where we can help personalize it in a way. What are some of the places where it looks like you've got a higher likelihood to be able to travel? there. When you think about our ability, again, to recommend learning paths to people based on the career goals that they have or the development needs that they have, really linking some of these tools to where those conversations take place. So the more it knows about our people, the more it can recommend things to them that are smart. Not without being Big Brother, obviously. We don't want this sort of watcher piece, but where it makes sense, where it matters, where it doesn't present risk, where can we leverage AI to really drive enablement and to personalize those really two journey experiences for our people at Delta. And so that's really how we're approaching it from an HR perspective. We are taking the wheel, but in that sort of pilot seat is our corporate strategy team, is IT, is our legal team, really looking at, we're looking at sort of responsible use, how it's benefiting our technology roadmap overall, how it's benefiting our people, but also how it's driving the enablement of our business.
Yeah, man. Exciting times ahead, man. I'm super. Firstly, congratulations to the team. I know you're still on the journey, but congratulations for the journey so far. Super exciting times ahead for you, and I wish you all the best, man. What an exciting time to be in the function, in the role, in the organization. It's incredible.
It is. I remind my team of that all the time. We're in a really good, lucky position that we get to shape the future of what Delta people development and goals and success really looks like. So you got to have me back, Chris. I wanted.
Well, I feel like we need our own show now.
Well,
listen. Clearly, your last thing I'd say is like just from getting to know you in this over the last hour, like clearly you're living your purpose. We spoke about you said your career aspirations early on. I feel like you ended up in the right spot, and your purpose is definitely connected, and I can feel it, and everyone listening right now can feel it as well. So I wish you all the best until we next speak, and thanks a lot. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.